Good morning. Sometime after the bringing back to life of Jesus on that Easter Sunday, Jesus could be found back at Lake Galilee, this time wandering along the beaches. He could see across into Lake Galilee and see the disciples, his friends, the fishermen, out there trying to fish. He calls out to them, "Friends, have you caught any fish yet?" And they reply, "No, we've been fishing all night and we haven't caught a thing." And so he says to them something that he said before. He says, "Let down your nets on the other side of the boat." They do so, and they haul in so much fish that the boats almost begin to sink, but they don't. At that moment, Peter knows that it is Jesus. He says to the others, "It's Jesus, let's go and see him." So they bring their boats, drag them to the shore and land all the fish. There was so much fish, 153 we're told in John's Gospel. When they reach the shore, I think they might be a little shy, a little nervous, because they don't know what's going to happen next. But Jesus is there and he has prepared a fire. It's going well. The logs are warm and it's ready to cook some of the fish that they have brought in. They gather together, they eat some of the fish, they share time together, they perhaps engage in stories again of what happened in the past. And then Peter suspects that Jesus is going to say something to him. Yes, Jesus does broach the elephant in the room. He says to Peter, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, of course I do." And Jesus says again, "Peter, do you love me?" A third time he says, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, of course I do. You know I love you." And Jesus says to him, "Feed my sheep, look after my sheep, take care of my sheep." For Peter, this is a moment, this is a realization that he has been restored. His friend Jesus has forgiven him for that time when another 3 questions were asked of him in the courtyard before the day that Jesus was crucified. Peter knows that he has been forgiven. And it's great to know that we too can be forgiven by that God of new beginnings, the God of new starts, fresh starts. And so from that moment on, Peter then continues with his ministry. He and all the disciples going out and spreading the word across the Mediterranean area. We too can be forgiven. When we come to Jesus, when we come to God and ask for his forgiveness for maybe something that we've done or maybe that we've left undone, we can come to him and say, "We're sorry." And then we too can be treated as Peter was by that God of new starts and fresh beginnings. This week I'd like you to maybe do something different. Would you like to paint or draw a picture of this week's account of Jesus having that barbecue on the beach with his disciples? Maybe there's some aspect of that story which has touched you and you could recreate that. As I say, maybe a drawing or a painting, or maybe a collage collected of things that you can gather around the garden or from around the house. And maybe once you've got that together, you could upload it to the comment section on the Facebook page so that we can all see some of your creative efforts. And this isn't for just young people, it's for older people too. Everyone can engage in this if you'd like to. This evening we are encouraged again to join together with other Christians throughout the country in prayer. At 7 o'clock we're invited to set aside some time to pray and to bring to God the things that are going on around us, whether it's through the coronavirus or maybe members of family or friends that are going through tough times that need some prayer. We can bring them to God in our prayer. And there are a couple of people that I'd like you to pray for this evening. The first is the family and friends of the late Jean McIntosh, one of our Renfrew North members who passed away during the week. And also for myself and my wider family as we mourn the loss of my father who passed away on Wednesday this week. So it'd be good to gather together in prayer at 7 o'clock this evening. Maybe you want to light a candle or just set aside a time in a quiet place. Maybe reading through some portions of scripture. But above all, just bringing it to God, to the God of new beginnings, the God of fresh starts.